Jenifer Salke has stepped down as the head of Amazon MGM Studios. What's going on? Why has it happened? And let's be honest, what does this mean for Stargate? Welcome to the Tachyon Pulse podcast.
Our Tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.
This was surprise news. It really did come out of the blue. But Mike Hopkins has sent a memo around Amazon MGM Studios announcing that, yes, Jenifer Salke will be stepping down as the head of MGM Amazon Studios. And she will not be replaced. Now, Mike Hopkins is the head of the studio, basically, but Jenifer Salke was always the active person in charge of the actual running of things. Now, there have been a couple of major misses by the studio in the last couple of years, and a lot of people actually blame Jenifer Salke for things like the Rings of Power, even though that deal was actually signed off and agreed before Jenifer Salke took over the role 7 years ago as the head of the studio. So how is the studio now being set up? Well, Courtney Valentini is going to continue her role as head of movies, and Vernon Sanders is going to continue his role as TV head. And both of those people will then directly report to Mr. Hopkins as head of the studio and general head of Amazon. So, what does that mean for things like Stargate? Well, I've always been told Vernon Sanders is not working on a Stargate project, but Courtney Valentini has always been relatively keen on doing a Stargate movie. She is one of the main driving forces behind doing a movie rather than a TV series. So, this doesn't really make any difference, if I'm honest. As I say, Jenifer Salke has been a major role behind things like The Citadel, which was a huge bomb. And our understanding is that Mike Hopkins has actually not been particularly happy with certain other creative decisions. I told you guys 18 months ago, actually Mike Hopkins went to Jenifer Salke and he was really unhappy with how the MGM properties and the IP was being used, because basically it wasn't. We're hearing that actually that's not a major driving force behind why she's stepping down. This is literally a streamlining of the process. There's been a certain element of realising that her role was kind of redundant, but also she's always had a desire to return back to just straight up producing, and actually her next role is going to be signing on with an exclusivity deal with Amazon MGM to produce, direct, etc. other projects. So similar to how Alex Kurtzman has an exclusivity deal with Paramount, or Bad Robot has an exclusivity deal with Warner Brothers, Jenifer Salke is going to be creating her own production company, and that will have exclusive rights with Amazon MGM. What she should do is start Stargate. That would work for me. Now, this has come about partly because of Jenifer Salke's wish to sort of produce her own things a little more and move on from just being the boss of the studio that is a little bit restrictive. Remembering that she does actually like to get hands-on with lots of projects that Amazon MGM get involved with. But there is also the element of certain things have gone wrong. But let's be honest, if Mike Hopkins and Amazon MGM as a whole were blaming her for anything, they would not be signing her on to an exclusivity deal. This has really come from left field, though. I am actually quite surprised this has happened and been announced in the way it has. We had no rumours of this. But the fact that they are splitting the TV and movie, and actually Mike Hopkins said that we're going to very much separate those two studios and have them work very independently of each other, does sort of run in with some of the other rumours that we've heard in the last year or so that I've shared with you guys. Namely being that there's been an idea about creating Amazon Prime as a TV producing service. So that's where we would get all of our new television from Amazon MGM, and MGM Plus would become MGM Movies, or MGM Amazon Movies, and that would primarily be where the movies drop. So it would be two streaming services for the price of one. They'll probably charge us, so forget the price of one thing. So I think this is another sort of indicator that that is where Amazon MGM are planning to take the business over the next 12 months or so at some point. For Stargate, as I say, I don't think this actually makes any difference because, as far as I know, Courtney Valentini has wanted to do a Stargate movie for a long time. It's just a matter of prioritising. When do they do it? When do they then tie up, obviously, the significant funds it would require, but also the studio space that has been limited and is still limited by Amazon MGM. But they are getting more and more space every day, basically, as new studio space that they've acquired comes online. I'm also hearing that the relationship between Sony is going to be strengthened in the next 6 months or so, and studio space there could also be used. So, Courtney Valentini has now got a little bit more control over what goes on with the movies. She does no longer need to report to Jenifer Salke. That is obviously a good thing. But guys, what do you think? Is Jenifer Salke moving on a good thing for the studio? Courtney Valentini has not been in the job that long, so from a movie point of view, what are we doing? Vernon Sanders is a very experienced TV producer, so hopefully we may see a little bit more from him. And both of these people getting the reins really does mean that Mike Hopkins will also be far more involved. Remember, it was Mike Hopkins that actually agreed and signed the Rings of Power deal, so that's a maybe, maybe not. He's also the one that signed off giving Barbara Broccoli £1 billion to get rid of her. So, I don't know. I'd love to know what you think though, guys, because, as I say, this is a surprise. We were not expecting it. A lot of people blame Jenifer Salke for a lot of the decisions Amazon have made, fairly or unfairly. But for a lot of people, this is very similar to the Kennedy leaving Star Wars. By the end of this year, we may actually have a big clear out of these big bosses that we feel maybe has steered some of these big franchises in the wrong direction. Kurtzman may be leaving Star Trek. Kathleen Kennedy, is leaving Star Wars. And now Salke is leaving MGM Amazon. And maybe that paves the way for Stargate. We can but hope. Get in the comments though, tell me exactly what you think about this breaking news. As always, if you are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and we bring you all the fresh news as quickly as we can. Also, you can join the channel and become a member. That way you get to see a lot of our videos first and exclusively. Check it out. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.